It's almost like I turn like that and suddenly I have a riot in front of me. One instance where you've seen social cohesion really break down.
Obviously, nobody trusts that anymore. Rage baiting, outrage, anger.
That's very alarming. I'm not sure why I wanted to hear that.
You are the oppressor.
But no, the moment I pick up my phone, I suddenly become, a murderous psychopath. I'm not that. Hey, don't laugh, huh? When it's your turn, it's worse. Hi, I'm Farish Noor.
And I'm Benjamin Lee.
And welcome to Majula Presents Tea Session.
And today we're going to share about our time at the International Conference on Cohesive Societies.
And answer the burning question, are online spaces tearing us apart?
So tell us about your line of work.
I'm a historian of political processes of Southeast Asia. One of the reasons why I'm here is to lend whatever expertise I may have about the historical development of Southeast Asia. Because a lot of the things we are discussing are pertaining to Southeast Asia and Southeast Asian society today. And what brings you here today?
I'm the resident troublemaker in Singapore, and I've been brought to be aware of some of the harms that online discourse has been creating. My own journey as a digital creator, as well as working in a content company, what responsibilities we all have in order to not make it an even more fractious world.
Yeah, so on that note, there was a quote, yeah? Something that has been built over a long time can literally fall apart in an instant. Can you give me an example of one instance where you've seen social cohesion really break down?
Obviously, it's in the United States. I think that's one prime example of where trust have been eroded in your so-called democratic institutions. Nobody trusts that anymore, so much so that there is practically no discerning between fact and fake news, for instance. Basically, who tells the better story that is fed together by the algorithms? Rage baiting, outrage, anger, those are the main drivers of engagement these days. So I think there's something for us to learn there. Those are the prime examples that I can think of, but what in your experience, in your academic field as well, that you've noticed?
One incident, more than a decade ago, in South Asia, when I was doing fieldwork, as I was walking down the road, suddenly, almost in an instant, I found myself in the middle of a massive riot.
Gosh.
And that was absolutely terrifying. Because one second, everyone seems normal. People are, talking to each other, selling stuff or whatever. And the next thing, I'm surrounded by literally hundreds of very, very angry young men. And I think what instigated it was, again, one of these online rumors or whatever, right, that basically compelled them or goaded them to gather at that point. And then all mayhem breaks loose, right? So shops are smashed, looted and all that. I think the scariest thing about it was that it was literally instantaneous, It's almost like I turn like that and suddenly I have a riot in front of me. That's actually scary.
That's a bit like how the 1964 riot started. One bottle, and then that's it. Everything just exploded. So the simmering tensions were already there, it just needed a trigger or something like that.
Unless you've been in a situation like that, it is humanly impossible to communicate that sense of alarm and fear. And I think what really scares me, particularly because I'm an academic, right? I mean, it's our job to teach, to make people think rationally. But to witness unthinking behavior on such a large scale so fast, it's as if everything I've been doing for the last 30 years is undermined in one instant, And I think that is actually scary.
I guess, by the very nature of academic work, it is rational thinking. But in instances, in everyday life and everything, it's irrational reactions that govern the world. So I think that therein lies that divide that we have to be aware of.
Well, yes, I suppose so. But, again, because I'm an academic, I would also not talk up rationality too much, Because, a lot of the horrible things that have happened throughout human history were done in a very calculated, rational manner, right? You don't build atomic bombs irrationally. You sit down, you plan, you learn, you study, and you build it bit by bit.
Okay, point taken.
So that. And also, some irrational things. Love is irrational. in some respects, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think here, what is scary is that it's irrational and antagonistic and violent at the same time.
Right.
Someone spontaneously, coming up to you and giving you a box of chocolates in the streets, but it's not
More of
necessarily.
that, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
more of that, please. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with that kind of irrationality, but not this kind of irrationality. But I think, as you said, right, this is a symptom of the time that we live in, the age that we live in, right, where the scary thing is this irrationality can be organized.
Yes.
And it's organized
Or
through
manipulated.
and through
Yeah.
particular media.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it becomes worrisome for me. I mean, let me ask you this: for the sake of harmony or peace, we have to be more sensitive in what we say and how we say things and what have you. But does it entail a limitation on speech?
There's a balance to be struck, obviously, between freedom to speak your mind and also the harm that is done if you do. So I think the lens through which we should take before we actually utter anything is to see, okay, if I say this, what harm will it do? I think that's what I'm personally guided by these days. Maybe it's a product of growing up, growing older, being middle-aged, and that life has passed me by. But anyway, the disgruntlement, the tendency to react needs to be reined in. Read a newspaper, for instance. You feel indignant, you feel righteous anger, but you don't have the means to shout it out to the world. And by the time you step out the door and go to the coffee shop to shout to your fellow uncles, that anger possibly has been dissipated already.
I'm very worried that you've put us already in the uncle category. That's very alarming. It's been a long day, and I'm not sure I wanted to hear that. But anyway,
I'm
please
sorry,
go ahead.
yes.
Okay, officially I'm an uncle. All right, well now. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure you share the same sentiment. It takes a while to simmer down when you see something that riles you up. And because now with technology, your tools at the disposal that allow you to react instantaneously, I think that's one of the triggers of harm. Earlier I spoke at my panel about there being the need for common spaces. I think our president actually spoke about that as well. And that we shouldn't mistake online spaces for real public discourse spaces.
So then in your line of work, I mean, you weave narratives, you tell stories. Where do you draw the line? How do you balance these concerns?
Okay, so I'll answer this question in two parts. I think when I first started out in my career, I did not draw lines. I let people draw the lines for me. And I would get reined in every time I overstepped whatever invisible line there was, and that's always been the case. With time, I figured out where the vague boundaries were, and then I started to play within it. Case in point, you see that I have drawn a line. I brought up the fact that the IMDA has a set of rules that are quite open to getting people vilified for their views and for their, I guess, who they are. I put it out there as factual as possible, ask people, please share it if you wish. And now it's taken off. Like yesterday I had to turn off my phone because there are Straits Times calling me left, right, center there. Oh no, I'm speaking today at this conference on cohesion and I've just ruptured the internet or something. Yeah, so sometimes you don't know where the line is, sometimes you draw it yourself. So in short, I think with time, you get this sense of where the boundaries of sensibilities are, and then you keep to it.
Who articulates these sensibilities? I mean, your audience? Do people actually say, hey, that touched me in the wrong way or whatever?
That's one. But if you rely on your audience alone, that can lead you astray. Yeah, that's the danger. So it's basically where your own moral compass is. It's like, what am I doing this for? Is this for good? Will this benefit this other person, or will it get me more likes? Is it self-serving? There's nothing wrong with being self-serving if your self-serving does good for other people. But I think with the online space, it's very dangerous. It's very. I think this is something that requires a far lot more education of people who are in the online space and using it as part of their jobs. Yeah. Which brings us to our next question as well. Online spaces incentivize more extreme positions. So how can we have cohesion when we live more online and there's a hardening of beliefs?
Well, you're watching us online now, by the way, yeah? And but I don't know what the exact figures are. But I would wager that an overwhelming majority of people who spend their time online are not cooking up plots to murder other human beings. Yeah,
Hope
I
not.
mean, a lot of people are, watching cat videos, guilty. Cooking shows, comedies, and stuff like that. I think a lot of that stuff is actually innocent. But there's also that, unfortunately, there's that niche, where other things, perhaps less pleasant, are happening as well. So the question for me always has been, right, okay, internet doesn't cause that. It doesn't cause that. It's not as if, the moment I pick up my phone, I suddenly become, a murderous psychopath. I'm not. Yeah? But
That's happened away.
I can get away with things, and I think that's the issue. At one point, quite a lot of anonymity. It was possible to have social media accounts with fake names. It was very easy to do that. It's less so now, but it was very easy to do that. So I can have like 50 Facebook accounts if I want to. It's becoming more and more difficult to do that. And I think that, for me, was the problem, that assuming a fake identity, whether it's for fun or for more nefarious reasons, was not a difficult thing to do. And I think that's what scares us, the fact that someone can use the medium. The medium itself doesn't make you do that, but the medium allows you to do that. Perhaps for people like us, perhaps older and wiser, because we are officially uncles now, we are asking the question, where is the regulation? Yeah? No one's saying that you shouldn't have it. Basic ground rules and mechanisms seem to be absent. And I think that's what worries me.
Just now, we were just talking about where regulation can come in, how regulation can come in. And by its very nature, how policy making tends to be a sledgehammer, tends to be a whole blanket. It's not surgical enough to be able to tackle each individual problems as they crop up. So we do all know that there is content out there that is rage baiting. By the very nature of the term rage baiting, right, it's a trigger that's cocked. Your social media device is the one that is, all you need to do is press your thumb there, it
exactly
fires off.
Right.
So I think that there needs to be some kind of regulatory mechanism that will slow down people's responses. On radio, right, live calls, when people call in and there's a 5-minute delay because they want to prevent profanities and all that, something to that effect. I mean, that's hypothetical. Perhaps that's something that is needed, and policy plus tech platforms. Come on, man, you can do it.
But I think there's also an issue here, right? Because as you said, it's a sledgehammer. And like it or not, whenever there is anything that looks like state intervention, that's what it looks like. It looks like state intervention. This is the dilemma that is always faced by all states, because no matter what, that's how it is going to be seen, because that's what it is. It is intervention. And what's your takeaway from ICCS this time? Because we've been discussing this for 2 days now, and it's again about, everyone knows. I mean, I think there is a consensus that we want to see societies that are more resilient and more cohesive, and the state has a role to play. But the state, like you said, is a crude, lumbering Frankenstein's monster.
When I ended my panel just now, I came to some kind of conclusion that it depends on us in the community to drive the push to the policymakers, to the tech companies. This is what we want. By that very basis and through the lens of I am for mutual benefit, I think that we can get somewhere.
Yeah, but at this point you raised about community, for me is important, right? Because in the panels I spoke at and panels I attended, same thing happened. The question is, okay, where's the state in all this, and where's society in all this? And I keep giving the example. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not against the state per se, but I think states are good at certain things, but not at others. They're not very nuanced tools. And I think of an example. I mean, officially we're uncles. We are the Benny Hill. We are the Benny Hill generation.
We keep coming back to that.
Yeah, but you're Benny Hill generation, right? You know Benny Hill.
Yes.
You guys don't know Benny Hill because you're all too young, you see. But Benny Hill is that's uncle humor, right? Now, when we were young, right, people watch Benny Hill, right? Ha ha, he, and all that. Today,
Confirm cancel.
no, but today, the funny thing is, I don't find it funny anymore.
No.
Right? I don't find it funny. And actually, I'm amazed that I could watch this when I was a kid, but
now?
not anymore. Yeah, no, and now I'm embarrassed, right? Now, how did that happen? It's not because some prophet of political correctness descended and preached, feminism or whatever. It's because society changed.
Correct.
Yeah, it didn't come from above.
Yeah.
It came from below. People said, it's not funny to make fun of women. Sexist humor is not funny, right? And we haven't reached that point when it comes to things like racist humor or hate speech. Unfortunately. Racist humor, yes, perhaps, yeah. We don't find racist jokes funny, but hate speech, inflammatory speech and all that, we haven't reached that point yet. And I'm wondering how and when are we going to get to that point?
For generations now, living in Singapore, and we've been talking about religious and cultural, and the word is tolerance. There's beginnings of a shift from tolerance to recognition. So instead of, I talk to you despite the fact that you're Muslim, to I talk to you because I'm curious about the fact that you're Muslim, I want to learn more. So there's a difference, and you respect your counterpart for being who they are. You allow them the space to be proud of who they are. So there's a big shift there. And I think we are on the cusp of something that we can actually push up and push forward. In my mind, I feel as if that the more we educate people about identity politics in a good way, a lot of times when we talk about identity politics, it's like, oh, it's something dangerous, I don't want to touch, it's sensitive. Yes, it is sensitive, but if we come from the lens of wanting people to have their own spaces to be proud of who they are, I think we're going somewhere. I think that might be the shift that is needed.
And I think, the point about sensitivity, right? In a sense, overly sensitive environment, has actually weakened us. Yeah. In the panel I was just now, I made a point at the end when I said, the worst arguments I've ever had, the most emotionally heated and violent arguments I've ever had were with my best friends. Because they are my best friends.
I shall tell my best friend.
Yeah, no, it's precisely, and that's the proof of our loving friendship.
Yeah.
That, it's because you're my best friend that I can actually scream at you and say, I hate what you're doing, I completely disagree. It's because we have that, right? Something sort of went off tangent for a while where, you can't upset people. Now, I think surely we must also have the right to disagree sometimes, without flying off the handle.
Binary thinking is getting more prevalent, one or the other, right? Seeing the world in black and white and viewing the world through the lens of the oppressor versus the oppressed. How is this an obstacle in building cohesive societies?
Okay, two things. Oppression exists. Any historian will tell you that human history involves many things, including the struggle against oppression. It exists. Slavery existed, for heaven's sakes. Colonization existed. Empires existed. Dealing with the actual facts of oppression, for me is not an issue. But I think now, this is where things get slightly fuzzy. There is a kind of what they call discursive creep, which is a weird term, a vocabulary creep where shout at your child, you're oppressing your child. If I shout at my students for being late, I'm oppressing my students,
You are the oppressor.
Yes, exactly, And I think there, again, I'm sorry, but, from an academic point of view, one thing that's hugely important for me is clarity in language, right? Because if everything is oppressive, then nothing is oppressive. I want to deal with actual, real oppression, And if I don't get my ice cream, I'm oppressed, and my pizza is late, I'm oppressed.
But it's true.
And the reason why I'm worried about this is because the people who then jump on this are not just those who claim to be oppressed, but those who want to basically dismiss all of this. You see, there's no oppression because these are whinging people, complaining people, yak, right? And I think this is actually, in the long run, counterproductive because it's counterproductive to any progressive cause, To go back to Benny Hill, right? when women in particular, were complaining about, sexist representations of women in the media.
Yep.
This is demeaning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many chauvinistic men would simply say, women
It's
are
nothing, it's just a
complaining.
joke."
Nothing's just a joke, that stuff, it's not oppression. Here is where I think it is hugely important to have, again, like what you are trying to do. Yeah? I mean, a lucid, clear, objective debate about this. Yeah, because on the one hand, you don't want terms to be overused and taken out of context, but on the other hand, you can't deny the reality that some of these things do exist. That's weird. You cannot escape it. So finding that fine line, as you said, is a learning process. And because I'm a historian, I don't have to live in the present. I live in the past anyway. But the historian thinks of things in the long term, right? In the long run, I'm not worried because history shows us that this is how societies evolve.
Yes.
We make mistakes.
Yes.
We will make mistakes, and gradually, slowly, we will inch forward. I mean, history is not linear, right? It moves in all kinds of weird lines and curves and U-turns, but eventually it gets you somewhere. It has to get you somewhere,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. What you said just now about there being a broader vocabulary, or at least a knowledge of the vocabulary that you're using, and the point that you made about if you keep repeating the same terms over and over again, it becomes tired. It becomes
meaningless.
Meaningless, falls on deaf ears, which means we always need to find new ways of communicating ideas for good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, in common lingo, everything is awesome nowadays. Cheeseburgers are awesome, pizza is awesome.
When you use the word awesome.
Yeah, but if you go back to its historical roots, right, to be awestruck, you're awestruck by something like God.
Yes.
You're struck with awe.
Yes.
And the power of that word, which was used very selectively. I mean, it becomes commonplace when everything is awesome. And that power is gone, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you look at the great historical struggles of the 20th century, anti-colonialism, anti-apartheid, success came from the power of the vocabulary used. Yeah. So when you say that slavery is morally repugnant and wrong, that has to be a powerful statement. It's not like comparing it to it's raining outside. It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's a moral prerogative. It's a moral compulsion. It means something. But and I think here is where I worry. Not only about social media, but also with things like texting and all that. I mean, of course, I'm a school teacher, right? And people don't even spell Y-O-U. Now it's you, I see you, I heart you, and all that. I mean, for heaven's sakes, my background is also in literature. I mean, I'm watching the destruction of language. And read your Orwell, right?
Yeah.
That's what happens in 1984. The destruction of language is the first step towards really oppressive regimes. You take away the ability to communicate clearly, lucidly.
Absolutely.
How are you going to understand the world, right? Yeah. If everything is like awesome, fantastic, cool, and all that, in the end, we are left with a vocabulary that is very poor, and that is dangerous. The poverty of language is something.
Oh gosh. Yes, I think you
I'm in
nailed it.
full uncle mode now, right? You can see,
Poverty,
I moved my uncle like to
language.
level 10 already,
Same. Gone past that already. Bring the uncle some kopi. Okay, and we're going to wrap up soon with some quick fire questions, right? I don't know, you go first.
Okay,
let me take a sip.
quick fire question, machine gun. What do you think is a myth or misconception that fuels social division?
We haven't quite shifted away from having to get people to assimilate into a national culture. And I think that's one of the potentially harmful ways that can cause divisions. It's like, why are you making me become like you? Yeah. And I think that needs to change, and the language needs to change, especially when they're talking about new citizens coming into Singapore. Oh, we must make them assimilate.
Like the Borgs in Star Trek.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm not that old. I'm not that old. Huh?
What he's talking about.
I am the Borg.
Greetings.
I think we're starting to change, and once we move away from that, I think maybe we're getting somewhere. This one's interesting. What's a policy or practice that promotes social cohesion in your country?
A policy that we see in many parts of Southeast Asia particularly in the past, was an understanding that urban planning requires common public spaces, right?
Yes.
And like playgrounds.
Yeah.
And playgrounds are important. And of course, there's this myth that the playground is the place everybody goes, happy, and all that. I mean, you and I had playgrounds, right? You go there, you fight, you fight and all that, right? But again, you fight and you play.
Yes.
And you get knocked up and you get resilient. And that's the important thing.
Right.
You learn. And I think another thing was the emphasis on sports. I mean, our generation, schools, boys' schools in particular, are basically prison camps, right? I mean, so, but we are forced to play football and rugby. It's not just for your health, right? I mean, of course, like you end up looking like so macho like me now, right? But it's not just because of the health. It's because they wanted to teach us how to lose. You learn to lose because you learn
they
that
didn't have to teach my team. We lost all the time.
Yeah, mine as well. I was a defender, and they understood that when you learn to lose, you win better as well. But you also builds your character because then you have to learn that this is life. Okay, you're not going to get everything you want every day.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There are going to be times you're not going to get it. You're going to lose. Now, my worry is, you know that I actually have a certificate in video game design.
Fun fact.
When I briefly entered the world of video games, it was to understand how they work and why they work, right? And my deep concern is that video games today are designed to make sure you win. You must always win. Because it gives you that dopamine hit.
Yes.
Right?
That's why Angry Birds was designed like
Yes,
that.
exactly. So you can't lose. You can't lose. So games today are such that you play to win, and you're going to win, and then after that you play another game, and so you download and you play, So games now have become. When you and I played football or basketball or whatever, you don't have to pay. I mean, you just go and play, car park or whatever, right? But now you pay, you play the game, you get your dopamine hit, you've won, you download another game, you pay again, so the cycle continues, and this is endless cycle of winning all the time.
Yeah.
Which is not, real life. In real life, we get demoted, you don't get your promotion, the boss hates you, or whatever. That's life. Grow up. And it's still not as bad as some places where people really suffer.
Yes.
Really suffer, right?
Yes.
And if we can't take that, then really we are becoming a species of weaklings. And from a Darwinian point of view, maybe we should not continue existing here because really we've lost our survival capacity.
So you're saying that perhaps Singapore, because of our successes and everything, conversely, is that we're building a nation of softies?
I think the whole world's becoming that way. It's not just Singapore. I mean, and that's because we follow this very linear thinking, of development. Development means develop, grow rich, get money, go out spend your life in the mall until you die, and then drop dead, right? And that's dangerous because it's a monotonous, it's a predictable life. And the thing is, now, and I'm very surprised to see a lot of people, including young people, finding comfort in predictability. Whereas, again, like I said, as a historian, life is not predictable. Contingent things happen all the time. Disasters, wars, invasions happen.
Is it just young people? I mean,
I think a lot of people, it's
a generational thing.
It's a generational thing, but particularly, if you look at, the constant lament about the loss of resilience among, in many societies is because people expect a certain predictability, and that gives comfort. But it's a false comfort. It's an illusion of comfort. Yeah. For me, the toughest human beings in the world today are refugees. Because these are people who we can actually be learning from.
Cost of living day to day, no certainty about tomorrow.
Yeah. If you want anyone to give you lessons about how to deal with contingency and the future, it's these people.
That's a very good take. Yeah. Gosh. Wow. Okay. We could do an entire episode on what resilience means.
Yes, exactly.
Can we, please, have another episode on resilience? Because he sparked off this thinking that I think we need to tackle it. What does resilience mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. What is your personal ritual that keeps you grounded in times of conflict?
I go back to history. I go back to history. The one advantage of being a historian is that when people say, oh, everything's so terrible, awful, atarola, dashat, everything in there. Hey, look at human history. I'm a historian of colonialism and imperialism, right? There's nothing nice. Nothing nice. It's just horror upon horror upon horror, and we survived it.
Yeah.
The great thing about reading and researching human history is to see how incredibly powerful, strong human beings are. Even in worst cases of crisis. Even in the middle of wars, people can still get married. I mean, it doesn't mean the marriage will be a happy one, but people can still get married. People can still have a birthday party when you're being bombed. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing. Human beings have far more power than they actually realize.
So, okay, I'm going to contradict myself and then reverse what I just said about the
cannot,
takeaway. Cannot. I can take it back, right? Can. Human resilience will solve our issues, I feel. I think, okay, I mean, I'm going to answer my own questions. What's a personal ritual in times of conflict? I turn to literature, I turn to poetry, I read poems. It makes me slow down, it makes me contemplate. It makes me look at a piece of leaf I picked up from the floor, and that's where the word awe and wonderment comes in. How was this made? And then it's a human condition. Only humans can consider beauty in objects, for instance. And I think that's what's going to save us.
Because that's where beauty is. The beauty is not there, it's here.
Yeah.
You see it. And I think, last uncle bit, yeah? But seriously, I tell all my students two things. Walk. You guys don't walk. Young people don't walk. That's what, legs, walk. Legs, walk, yeah? Walk. Walking is important because that's how you stay healthy. Like me, about to retire, still can walk, right? Walk. 1. 2, pause. 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 We don't read enough. We don't see enough. We look, but we don't see.
Yeah.
You don't see the ant on your thumb. This is a creature, it's 2 millimeters long. It has a means of sustaining itself, looking for food. It knows its friends. That's an extraordinary thing.
It's an incredible wonder.
It is a wonder, and this loss of wonder in the most mundane, ordinary things has given way to the awesome world of cheeseburgers instead, And I think
hungry or something?
I am not hungry. I'm angry, hangry, as my daughters would say, But I think in this world, at this moment, is that every single day you're given a different sunset. You never see the same sunset twice. You never see the same sunset twice. Yeah, and it's almost as if the cosmos is telling you, look, this is life. Life is diverse and complex. I'm not going to give you the same sunset twice. You're going to see every day. You're going to have a different sunrise and a different sunset.
Or you're a different person watching the sunset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And what a wonderful way to live. Yeah.
Yes. And on that note, that's how uncles are very wise indeed.
Yeah,
we should rename this podcast,
Uncle's Hour.
Yes.
Uncle's Hour, the Uncle Show.
Uncle Show,
The
Uncle
Uncle Show.
Sunset Hour.
Uncle
Please send your suggestions for the renaming of this episode.
Yeah, donation, walking stick and all that, send here. Right.
Thank you for sharing the stage with me, my fellow uncle. I think we've had a lot of wisdom sharing and everything.
I'm going to go and get my Horlicks now, and get ready because, it's my bedtime already, it's 6 o'clock.
Mine is the low sugar Milo.
Hey, don't laugh, huh? You're all going to go through this, yeah? Okay, please, don't laugh, huh? So,
Your beverage might change,
Yeah,
but the sentiment and the feeling remains the same.
Later, when it's your turn, it's worse. Because the Milo and Horlicks will come in cube form. You have to suck on it, That's what you're going to get.
But as we were saying, I mean, sometimes we forget to pause and appreciate the good things. And I guess that's something that we need to remind everybody as well, that in whatever fractious world we live in, the key is pause, reflect, consider what it is, I guess, to be alive.
Yeah. And to be human.
Yeah.
And humane.
Thank you for watching. What's the name of this show? Majula presents
Uncle Tea Session.
Tea Session
With the uncles.
with the uncles.
Yes.